Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Mace back for another video, and we are going to be trying to understand European soccer better in 4 simple steps, a guide for Americans. Let's check it out. Soccer in Europe. Yeah, I know a little bit about it. I really like the relegation system. I love how it opens up opportunity for teams to be relegated up and down, and how that can just add to the excitement around games, especially play like teams that are on the verge of being relegated, and vice versa, teams going up and down. So it's pretty interesting actually. This is a short video because I do need a refresher to get my mind back into it. Let's do it.
Welcome to Understanding Soccer in Europe in 4 Simple Steps, a guide for Americans. Although from the outside it may seem complex and confusing, to understand how soccer works in Europe, you really only need to know 4 things. Number 1. Each country has its own soccer league. Seasons run from August to May, in which each team plays every other team twice.
He's giving me a lot of information.
Once at home,
really
and once
fast.
on the road. Games are divided into 2 45-minute halves, and when the game is over, the winner is awarded 3 points, the loser 0, and in the event of a tie, each team gets 1 point. After each team has played all the other teams twice, the team with the most points is crowned champion of the league. They get a big trophy, a parade, and the season is over. There are no playoffs. Sort of. But more on that in a minute. Before the books are
No playoffs? No playoffs?
closed on the season, there is still one small bit of housekeeping to be done. Number 2, relegation. We'll use the German League as an example. Every year, when the German League has concluded and the champion has been crowned, the 3 teams with the least amount of points are kicked out of the league. This process is known as relegation. The 3 vacant spots are subsequently filled by the top 3 teams from Germany's second division.
I didn't know it was 3 teams. Is that only in Germany, or is that in all of the different countries' leagues? So basically, so far, in summation, we've had that there's a soccer league in each country. Each team plays each other team twice, and you get 3 points for a win, 1 for a tie, 0 for a loss. There's 2 45-minute halves, 90 minutes in total.
And unlike, say, baseball in the US, teams in the second and subsequent divisions are not owned by teams in the top division. Imagine if the Pittsburgh Pirates or Oakland Raiders had to fight May, in which
And the season goes from August to May. June, July. That's a long season. Huh.
this process is known as relegation. The 3 vacant season just to stay in the league. What if instead of coasting to the bottom for better draft picks, they were fighting to the bitter end to avoid the $40 million revenue loss that relegated teams suffer in the first year alone? Not to mention the fact that in England, 9 different teams have gone financially insolvent within 5 years of relegation. Okay, interesting enough, you're thinking. But what about that whole lack of playoffs part? Number 3. Each country also holds an elimination-style tournament, referred to as a cup. But instead of being held after the 9-month league is over, cup games are scheduled in between league games, normally in the middle of the week. One additional perk about the cup system is that teams from all levels, down to semi-professional and even some amateur teams, are invited to play, and if they do well, can progress, and occasionally even knock off a top team. So every year, these midweek elimination
So you can have these David versus Goliath sort of situations, eh?
games continue until there are only 2 teams left, who play each other in the cup final. After 90 minutes, a cup champion is crowned, they get a trophy, and a parade.
Yeah.
So, between the league and cup games, we get a great picture of who the best and worst teams in each country are. But wait a second, you ask. What would happen if the best teams from each country in Europe all got together and played each other? Good idea. Number 4. The resulting competition is called the UEFA Champions League, and it is without a doubt the single greatest club competition of any sport anywhere in the world, period. Think of the NCAA tournament, but with better quality of play, more than double the fan base, and quadruple the enthusiasm. And yes, Europe even has their own version of the NIT as well. So, through a complex and drawn-out process, teams from all over Europe compete just to qualify for this tournament. And starting each September, the top 32 teams are put into 8 groups of 4. Each team plays the other members of its group 2 times, once at home and once on the road. Come December, the winner and runner-up from each group move on to the knockout round. And this is where club soccer is at its finest. Teams are paired up individually and again play 1 home and 1 away game, with the winner from each pair moving on to the next round until only 2 teams.
That's why you can have these mega games over there, and football is so huge, and I understand that. In the States and here in Canada, like everything's kind of segmented, and there's different leagues. People have different interests. There's definitely no like common sport that's so huge that it transcends all others.
Teams remain. The Champions League final is then held as a single game each year in May. And unless it's the World Cup year, this is the most important soccer game of the year. After 90 minutes, a champion is crowned, the trophy is awarded, parades commence, and all clubs go on break until the madness fires back up again in August. So, to review, number 1, each country has its own league. Number 2, the worst teams are kicked out of the league and replaced by the best teams from the next division down. Number 3, throughout the year, each country also holds a playoff-type tournament called a cup. And number 4, the UEFA Champions League is a tournament involving all of Europe and is the most important competition in all of club soccer.
So I noticed he didn't talk about FIFA World Cup or anything like that, really, but cool. Interesting. Let me know like what's maybe changed in this video since it's been released, and like what's maybe not 100% correct or not crystal clear. But yeah, clear as mud, man. Clear as mud. All right, see you next time, eh? And take care of yourselves, and cheers.